Hey, why don't you hang out with me a few minutes and I'll explain to you my thought process for the garland on the railing and the newel post. Hey everyone, Joe here. Thanks for stopping by today and the continuation of my Christmas 2025 Twas the Night Before Christmas decor series. And today I'm just going to talk you through the process that I used for the garland on the stairway. Now, it's not a decorate with me because it's been an ongoing process. I've been, working on it and leaving it and coming back and forth and so on. So I'll show you what I did and I'll try to explain to you what I did just in case you're interested for future. I know a lot of you are decorated already, so you can use this for some other time, I guess. Okay, so Twas the Night Before Christmas theme was, a good idea, but it was a trying idea because trying to incorporate, parts of the poem into each room was a little bit of a challenge. Sometimes it was a little bit of a stretch. Now in the foyer, the easy part was, if you remember way back in the end of October or beginning of November, I did the exit actually, which is, where the front door is, but for people leaving out, and I used Merry Christmas to all and to all a good night. And that part was pretty easy. I made it look wintry. I used a lot of poinsettias and stuff like that. That was my idea that I was going to use here in the foyer. Excuse me. Besides the reindeer tree behind here when he calls them by name. But for the main tree and for the railing, I wanted to use a lot of poinsettia and so on. So I was able, and I did manage to incorporate a lot of little poinsettia picks within the stairway. And but the rest of the plan for the poinsettias didn't much work out, but that'll be in another video. So for the railing, I wanted to use a traditional combination of red, green, and gold. And I also wanted to add in gold ribbon, red ribbon, and I thought I was going to use my, it was like a tarnished gold poinsettia ribbon, but I wound up using that in the family room. So I did have some left over, but I thought I didn't want to use exactly the same, but I wanted to use something, familiar to it. But we happened to stumble on this Christmas tree ribbon at Costco's, last week, and that's what I wound up incorporating onto the stairs. Okay, so let's take a look, and I'll try to explain to you my thought process. All right, so I'm going to show you with the lights off first because they start to glare, and then you really can't see what I'm talking about. First of all, the first thing I had to do was decide whether I wanted to have loops or swags like this, or I wanted a straight run. And I chose to do swags. I don't like them too big and I don't like them too small. So that's the first thing that you have to determine, the size of your swag. So I kind of cut it halfway through each one of the balusters. One year I had it hanging all the way down and I really hated it the whole season. And one year I had it right along the bottom of the railing, and I didn't care for that much either. This is the most festive kind of a look that I like these swags. All right, so that was the first thing. I have this really pretty thick garland. It has a lot of texture to it. It has a few different kinds of things in it. You can see it has skinny branches, thicker branches, and even thicker than that branches in there. I didn't add any additional Christmas tree branches that, like I did last year, I didn't need it for this year. So that was the first thing. I had to determine how many swags I needed to continue up the entire railing like that. So once I figured that out, then I put the lights in. And I put, I only used, I think, 300 mini lights and then 300 twinkling lights. That's what I used over here. Now for the newel post, what I did was I knew that I wanted this to be the main area where the poem was going to be. Now, for those of you that saw it, my sister-in-law lent us a talking bear with a little mouse on its shoulder that reads "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." And I actually thought of putting him here, but I didn't want people touching it here because this would be a spot that a lot of people would wind up touching it. because people see with their hands, not with their eyes. And it's not my bear, and I'm really worried about it because my sister-in-law treats it like it's her child. So, wasn't a good thing. So I had this printed out. This is the entire poem, and I created one of those books like this, and I even made the back cover like this. I have a real back cover from Twas the Night Before Christmas, and that's what I did first. I knew I was going to incorporate that, so I have a round of garland right here, and then I did a spiral coming down. So you see the spiral, how it worked? Excuse me. I can't stop. I have so much phlegm in my throat today. I hope I'm not getting sick. Anyway, so once that is complete, then I begin deciding, okay, what am I going to do? Where am I going to put it? So I started with the green ornaments first. And I on the Newel post, I like a lot of large ornaments. So I did that big green one, and then I did the big gold one, and then I put that green one over there, and then that gold one over there. Then once that was pleasing to my eye, then I started to go in with the smaller ornaments like that. Now, a lot of these balls that I have on the railing and the Newel post, I've removed that little section where the hook goes so that it's just the opening to the ball, so I can slip it right onto the branch like that. So it goes exactly where I want it. And sometimes it gives it a more whimsical look because they're popping out off of the garland. Okay, now after I did that, then I put the ribbon in. I put the Christmas tree ribbon in, then I put the gold ribbon in, and then that followed by the red ribbon. I went back in again and started adding more ornaments like this. And I also like this dangling effect right here. I have 3 of them dangling. Next, after that, I put in some of these frosted ficus leaves I made. Then I add in some additional picks like these, the red and the gold, berries, pine cones, and that is basically the process. And then I assess it, I stand back, and I'll look at it again, and then I'll decide, does it need more? Do I have to delete? Now, in the case of this, I did a lot of deleting. I did a lot of deleting in this because I get carried away when I have all my supplies out, and then it gets too much. All right, so then the next thing I have to decide is what I'm going to put at each of the parts where the swags come up. So again, I decided on the green and the gold predominantly here, and then I added in touches of red, and then the same story again, the ribbon, the picks, and so on, the ficus leaves and whatnot. And I left basically in between here kind of blank, just a couple of pine cones here and there, because I don't want it to become so overwhelming. I know it is overwhelming, but it can become even more overwhelming. And then I just went in with little touches like a dangling, elongated ornament from crystal beads, these very thin little icicles right here. I even added some beads right under here as well. And then in a couple of spots, I added stars because if you see, I have the star thing going on. I have the star at the top of the tree, and then I have these dangling stars in here. So I wanted to carry that theme onto the garland as well, but not crazy onto it. I know that sounds crazy, but basically that's how I do it. I have to keep standing back and look at it. And I'll tell you, for those of you that know me, you know I always say the foyer is a bear, and wow, was this one a bear for me to do. It wasn't going the way I wanted it to go. It really slowed me down and caused a lot of frustration, but I think I got it right. P.S. I've changed it about 5 times already. So, and Marianne has been yelling at me to stop. Okay, so you can see each one of these top points. Let me make this bigger. You see up there, we have them at each of the points as well. And then the opposite Newel post, I kind of did the same thing. I mimicked it minus the book at the top. I just twirled it over here and I have one loop. All right, let me turn it on so you can see how it looks with the lights on. I forgot to tell you, up on the top piece of railing up there, the straight run, I keep it right next to the railing rather than compete with the loops on the railing, just to give your eye a rest. So this is what it kind of looks like there. It's a little bit closer right there. Oh, I have those dots floating on the walls as well. That's that thing that was sparkling. Okay, so here it is with the lights on. And I want it to be, it's meant to be overwhelming, because I love when the door opens and someone who really cares about it has their breath taken away by it. Some people walk right by it like there's not one thing here, but for those people that come here that are overwhelmed and love the spirit of Christmas, this usually gets them all the time. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that little take on how I did the garland and what my thought process was behind it. And tomorrow, what I'd like to do is I'll go over some of the things, my placement of ornaments on the tree, as well as the drama that I had underneath the 12-foot tree. Okay, everybody, take care. Thanks so much for stopping by, and I will be seeing you soon. Bye-bye.